They have a lot of mental health issues that we definitely have to deal with, but they also want to work too, you know. And so now you're in a position where you are now the employer. Yeah, I mean, after when certain things happen, it's like with you lost your job, and now you are employing or will be employing people. You are employing people, you know, and you have your own company and everything. So I'm just so proud of you.
Thank you. And it's funny because right before I came here, I got a call from somebody from my project, and he's in a bad situation and needs somewhere to stay. And he called me, and I said I'll hire you next week. You know, and that felt good because he's somebody that I genuinely care about. And you know, it's funny when things happen with my job, I'm the type of person when I get committed to something, I'm just zoned in.
You're committed, exactly.
I'm committed. And when everything happened, it was like, you know, I was angry, I was upset, I was hurt.
Of course.
You know, but what helped me more than anything else is sometimes we focus on what happened opposed to why it happened. And once I began to change my mindset, I started to understand why. I look back, met some amazing people during that time, yourself and a lot of other powerful people that helped put me in a position that I'm in today. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about reentry. You know, I understand how that dynamic worked, and I don't know if we have time to talk about that, but I want to, you know, now I'll be in a position to financially support Hustlelution in a way that I think it should be.
Absolutely.
And totally revise reentry.
Yes.
And so
real reentry.
Real reentry, exactly.
Right. Yes.
And so I'm really thankful for those opportunities. I appreciate New Jersey Reentry, appreciate Greater Newark Conservancy because, you know, good people down there, you know, but certain things just don't last forever. But
that's
the
right.
information and the wisdom and experience, that stays with you forever.
Right, and you see, I always say that we have a plan, but God has a plan.
Oh, absolutely.
And He knew what He was doing with you when He placed you in that position that you found yourself in. Right. Because of course we, you know, we'll get upset about certain things, you know, especially when we've invested so much into certain things. But your experience is just like with all of our experiences help us to become the people that we are. Because were it not for those experiences, what we're doing right now will not be able to do. Like I believe in staying in your lane, right? So like I'm not trying to do what you did. I'm not trying to do what anybody else does. I'm not competing with you at all because I compete with myself and I do what I do and you do what you do. You know, so it becomes a respect of what your gifts are, because we all have gifts, and what we have to do is really discover what those gifts are. We may not find it out right away, but eventually we will find what those gifts are. It's like what we love to do. It's like what I love to do, and I do it well. You know, and no one can take that away from me. So going in and helping brothers and sisters who are trying to find who they are, that is my gift. And your gift is the same thing, because with your being in reentry, you know exactly what these brothers and sisters have gone through because you've lived it, you know.
And one thing, and even though in Lyrical, that's my baby, but Hustlelution is my baby.
Right.
And Hustlelution, for those that don't know, means just the evolution of a hustler. Going from one state of hustle and elevating to another state. You know, a lot of things that we learn from the streets, you know, they're applicable in business. In fact, there was a study done, I think it was by Stanford, saying that the top drug dealers have some of the same mindsets and characteristics as Wall Street CEOs. But the issue is a lot of people don't know how to take those skills and transition them into business, because the concepts are the same, but the disciplines and the languages are different. You know, and then once you understand the disciplines and the language of anything, then you can sell anything and be successful at it. But one thing I do want to do with Hustlelution, if you don't mind me getting into that.
No, I want you to.
Okay.
Go ahead.
If you don't mind, with Hustlelution, one thing I will say, I have a lot of ideas now that I can bring to fruition with that. But one thing I will say is it bothers me that, this is one thing that bothers me. We can help a lot of people train for jobs. We can give them job skills and interview skills. But what always bothered me about reentry is when it came down to hiring somebody, I still had to get on the phone and call another company and say, can you hire some of my people? Are you interviewing?
That's right.
Opposed to saying, well, Ms. Bay, how many jobs do you have in your company? How many jobs openings do you have? And that's something that I wanted to change, not just give the job interviewing skills and the work skills that they need to succeed on the job, but to say, I have 20 positions open in my company.
Right.
You know, so that's one dynamic that I want to change. And also when it comes to reentry, one thing that bothers me is that when you look at veterans groups,
yes,
they're headed up by veterans, people that actually lived it. When you look at a certain maybe women's group, they're headed up by women. You're not going to go to a birthing class or a women's support group and see a bunch of men up there.
Right.
But reentry is, that to my knowledge, the only group that's not headed up by people that actually lived it. You know, and now at one point people were making a lot of money off sending us to prison.
Right.
Now they realize it costs more to keep us in prison, and so a lot of those same entities are making a lot of money.
Exactly.
Getting us out.
Exactly.
And I hear a lot of people were telling our stories, but a lot of those people they're still broke.
Right.
And so and there's a lot of money being circulated, and I think
they're still making money off.
Still making money, even with so I want Hustlelution to be backed by its own funding, not necessarily beholden to grants,
right.
You know, and the criteria that comes along with those grants. And I think we can really make a positive change, a different kind of change, how reentry is supposed to be. And my goal is to make a lot of millionaires with a Hustlelution. Right.
And see, what I like about what you're saying is that for me, the aspect that I love about what I'm doing is the programming part of it, is the education and the training.
Yes.
And attitude for me is everything. You know, because if you don't have the right attitude, especially brothers and sisters who've been in prison for a long time, their attitudes are, some of them got some real bad attitudes. Right. And I understand why they would have bad attitudes, but we have to be able to address those attitudes for them. You know? So programming for me is what I'm interested, you know, in doing. And that was one of the reasons when I went inside these prisons, I would always bring brothers with me and sisters with me who lived their life. Right. Because I can't tell that story, but I can tell the story about how important education and training is and how important attitude is. You know, so what you're talking about doing, it's anything is possible.
Right.
And we have to get people to understand that anything is possible, because once you put it in your mind, it becomes a thought.
Right.
And once you put that thought in there, then it becomes reality. And I remember what you just said about the Harvard the Stanford study. I did a lecture on 50 Cent and Steve Jobs. And when I did the lecture, and it's in my book, when I did the lecture, the first thing that they said, well, how could you compare 50 Cent to Steve Jobs? They all have the same characteristics. Anyone who is a hustler, who wants to be a businessman, there's certain characteristics that you have to make those things happen. You know, and now, look at where 50 Cent is going. He has definitely redefined and repositioned himself, just like you are redefining and repositioning yourself because of what happened to you. Right. And see, and what happens to us, a lot of times, it is the best thing that can happen to us. But at the time that it's happening, it don't feel good.
It's funny, like people say, well, oh, you have so much wisdom, you're so smart, but people don't understand that wisdom comes with a lot of unwise decisions, a lot of pain over the years. So you pay a heavy price to learn the things that you learn. And one thing that I fully believe in, and I think we were always on the same page with this, in harmony with what you said, you could teach people to go to HVAC school and CDL, but if you don't help change their mindset and the way they think, they're not going to keep it. And the first thing that I do is work on the way a person thinks. And then, even though I appreciate my businesses and I understand what the position and the impact that I have, I'm aware of that. And so when I go speak to people, when they see me now, more than what I say, my goal is to let them vicariously see themselves in me, because that's a different kind of impact. And people know that I was really in the streets. So it's different when you just talking, but when you actually live it, no, I've been on parole, I've really been in the street, I did this, I did that. And I noticed like the, urinating the cup and your parole officer is over you, and now you have to transition from the prison to the streets and get a job, and how do you do all this, and have child support on you, all those things. And so when a person really understands that and they can say, he did it, that has a totally different impact, more than anything that you could say. And so I want other people to have, help position them so that they can be successful, so they can have that same kind of impact.
Right.
And really going hard. One thing I want to do in 21 is really go hard for the youth too.
That's right. Oh, no, we have a lot of work that we are about to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so excited for this, and I just have to ask the brother, he's gonna let me know when to wrap up and everything.
Okay.
So this is all new to me right now, which I'm loving it. I mean, isn't this area is nice, right?
But here's the thing, even with that, and I know it's be interesting with me, but I gotta say there's one thing about you and other people that want to grow.
Yes.
They're never afraid to do new things. And that's one thing that I admire about you. And people that are successful, they're all, even like your boy 50 Cent, they dive into water, they dive into this. You gotta be willing to put yourself out there and try new things.
That's right.
Like one thing like Jay-Z said, and he said, you can't be scared to fail, search for perfection.
That's right.
And so I'm always willing to try new things and learn new things, and that's how successful people become successful. People think that they don't fail. No, they're just not afraid to fail.
And see, with me, I feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
I'm still, I'm gonna do it. It's just like when you write a book. When you write a book, as I've written a book, people will criticize the book, for whatever reasons, But the reality is that you had the courage to put your experience to paper.
Right.
And that makes a big difference. And those of us who don't fear failing, we understand that you have to be big about certain things. You can't take things personal. You just have to go ahead and do the work and make it happen. And then once you make it happen, people are going to say, oh, can I talk to you? Right. Certain things are going to start happening, right, because that's how it is. Once you put yourself out there, people will respect you.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why I respect you so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the book is doing really well. And
it is.
A lot of
Can I just tell a story real quick, if you don't mind? I had someone to read my book last week, and they ordered 20 more books. Yes, so I'm feeling really happy about it. Mm-hmm. And so now we're going to start working on how do we start distributing the book, getting it out into these schools and into the colleges and everything. And they're also in the prisons as well. Because I had another brother who purchased about 30 books, and he has sent them throughout the prisons throughout the country. Well, and now they're requesting the book.
Well, you got a lot of street cred in prison.
Yes, right.
If they walk in the prison and you walk in there and it's like, Mr. Bay, So, but that's because they're sincere. People, one thing about people that have been in the streets, you can have a bachelor's degree, you can be more educated, but one thing they're gonna be able to pick up very quickly if you're not sincere, if you're BSing. And you always are sincere, and people gravitate towards that.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised. Your book is definitely going to circulate.